All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Supply Chaney podcast. My name is Nathan Chaney, and I am the host today and every day, I suppose. Today, we are talking with Mike Ernst, who's the president of Expedite All, which is America's largest small truck network. And being a broker myself and running some trucks and some hot shots and a little bit of this and that, I'm just happy that today, with today's guest, I'm going to be able to understand a little bit of what he's saying, but I'm hoping that he can give us a little bit of a deeper dive into the world of small trucks and expediting and hot shots and all that sort of good stuff. And he's got a background in transportation and logistics, so I'm really interested to hear a little bit more about that as well. So, Mike, without further ado, I'll hand the mic over to you. Could you give us a little bit of your introduction?
Sure. Well, thank you, Nathan, and thank you for having us. We're honored to be a part of it today. I appreciate the opportunity to sit down and have some open dialogue. But yeah, I guess to kick it off, my name is Mike Ernst. I'm the president of Expedite All. I come with a background of approximately 25 years in the transportation space. Most of that was in the LTL sector. I used to work for an organization, you may have heard of them, Yellow. So started with the Roadway brand. We turned into YRC Freight as we combined Yellow and Roadway back in 2009, and then came on to Expedite All about a year and a half ago as their chief operations officer, and was asked to take over the presidency back at the beginning of the year. So having a lot of fun, have a lot of background in freight, really enjoy what we do. So that's a short summation, I guess, Nathan, of who I am and where I come from.
I like it. I was just going to make a note for people that you and Expedite All is the first guest, I think, that I've had on the podcast where I was able to hold their truck in my hand, maybe while talking. So maybe that's something I need to get into more.
Well, if you need more of those, Nathan, let me know. We can send you a box. We can put them up behind you.
All right. All right. Well, I'm in Dallas, so can you get a team behind it? I need it here within, I need a aircraft on ground level service right now. So, so, where are you located now? Like, where are you calling in from, and what's your life like today, I guess, outside of work?
Sure. So I'm actually outside of Kansas City, Missouri. Being a previous vice president over at Yellow, I was at our corporate office, which is just about 30 minutes away from me over in Overland Park. So I'm a hybrid. I'm either home officed here some weeks of the month, and others either traveling to visit with customers. We do a lot of conventions and expos to go meet new partnerships and develop new relationships. Or I spend a lot of time in our Knoxville office, which is where most of our customer-facing team is. So yeah, right today, Nathan, I'm outside of Kansas City, Missouri.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I get the feeling it might be a few degrees cooler there than it is. I think we're going to hit 80. We're starting to turn into spring down here in Dallas. How are things looking there?
We're starting to turn the corner. What's interesting, I grew up and moved around with my previous organization a lot in that northeastern third of the country. Coming out to Kansas City, it's always interesting because the weather changes day by day. So fortunately for us, we're starting to see some warmer weather. It's getting into the 70s, and fingers crossed, we're past the winter weather and can hopefully get into spring, a little bit of sun, a little bit of nicer weather, get outside and do some fun stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. Is that, I mean, I've never lived outside of Texas, so I've never owned a snow shovel or a snow blower or anything like that. But is this like the time where you start to like be able to put up the snow blower and bring out the lawnmower kind of transition, or?
Yeah, we're getting close. So the good news in Kansas City, you don't have to use a snowblower often.
Okay, okay.
Believe it or not, I think the trickiest thing is the ice. So the temperature can fluctuate pretty significantly from day to day. I remember 12 years ago when we moved out here, I think the most dramatic swing was it was negative 30 degrees on a Monday. Now that was with wind chill. And then by Wednesday, it was 50 degrees. So you're talking a major shift. And that's
Yeah.
not unusual in Kansas City. Here, the last couple of years, we've gotten some pretty good snowfall from time to time, but it doesn't last long. I think I've fired up the snowblower probably 4 or 5 times in the 12 years we've lived out here. Where in the
Okay.
Northeast, it was daily, right? You had the four
Daily. Yeah.
seasons. When the winter came, you had snow every day or every week, and the drifts would pile up. So I do not miss firing up the snowblower, but I still have one just in case.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I've got a friend, Cargo Margo. Her name is Margo Waldy. If you look her up on LinkedIn, the other day she put a post that said, "No one was ever born planning on getting into logistics and trucking and whatnot. So, kind of want to pitch that question to you. Growing up, what was that like, and what did you want to be when you grew up? Back in the day.
That's now you're going to put me on the spot. So honestly, everybody has a dream, right? I thought I was going to be a major league baseball player. I thought that would be my future. I did decent. I went to college, played college baseball, had a short career with the Indians minor league organization or system, and then went back to school to finish up. Really, where transportation started to kind of tickle my brain was I took a leadership class in college when I went back to finish up my college degree. Um, it was a professor by the name of Clint Longnecker. It was at the University of Toledo. He had a business leadership class. It was once a week for 3 hours. Imagine going back for a college class that you're in for approximately 3 hours one day a week instead of multiple days for an hour at a time. But we got to talking. What are you going to do when you grow up? Mm-hmm. So Clint and I spent some time together. He was an ex-athlete as well, so we kind of hit it off. And he started to talk about freight. It was intriguing to me. It's like, okay, so those are daily problems you're going to have to solve. So something fun, something that would be challenging. Back at my previous career, I personally was looking for where could you go, some kind of Fortune 500 company that would afford you advancement opportunities so that you could have a career maybe for 40 years if you wanted to. So really the trigger was he had some connectivity to the roadway organization. He had done some leadership training for the District 14 team at the time, which was Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, portions of Ohio and Indiana, but all of Michigan. And he had some connections there. And he goes, hey, love to try to connect you with some folks over there. They're looking for, leadership, people that can go out and work a freight dock, things like that, people that are interested in finding out more about the industry itself. And that's history. The rest was history. I ended up interviewing for an opportunity, secured one in Ann Arbor, Michigan back in 2001. And after that, I fell in love. The nice part about freight is there's always something to solve. There's always somebody to help. Yeah. There's always some kind of goods that need to get to point A to point B, no matter what mode you're talking about. It's an intense industry. It's fun. It's good people. They're down to earth. They're hardworking. And it's just something that fit very well with my personality. A lot of goal-oriented, results-driven. Everything's time-sensitive, right? Because you don't want to let anybody down. But again, back to, I guess, really what intrigued me was there's a new problem every day. You weren't going to be just working on one project that was, going to take years and years to develop. It was just something that would constantly challenge you day in and day out to solve, to satisfy, your customers and their business needs. And again, I just kind of fell in love with it.
I feel like there's an endless pursuit of the continuous improvement and innovation where we don't operate freight operations like we did 10 years ago and 20 years ago. And so there it is constantly evolving, which forces you as a person and as a company to always be training and learning and improving and doing something different and solving problems in a different way maybe tomorrow than we did yesterday. So I think that lends itself to also being evolving and interesting and engaging. Is there any overlap, I guess, Mike, from a baseball or an athletics type of perspective into, have you brought any of that sort of lessons learned and leadership from the field to the office, I wonder?
Oh, a lot of it transitions over to business in general. When you think about business, it's all about working collaboratively together as a team. How do you solve an issue? Because no one person stands alone, no one facility, no one driver, no one entity, no one mode. They're all kind of intertwined. So,
right.
If I think back about, sports in general, they really teach you about how to overcome adversity, how to work as a team, how to solve problems, how to get better. To your point, the industry is always evolving. If I think back when I started 25 years ago, roughly 25 years ago, you could have a service day from coast to coast that was, 5, 6, 7 days. Now people want that to happen. If you're going to book an expedite or put something on a plane, they want it to happen, in the shortest amount of time. But even the natural progression in an LTL platform, you can do those things in 3 days. So, it's constantly evolving. It's a constant challenge again, but it's about figuring out the pieces to the puzzle, working together as a team to solve those, and then creating an infrastructure that executes to your customers' desired needs that helps their business model, their supply chain, their customers. It all translates. But I think, back to the results driven, the team game,
Yeah.
learning how to overcome adversity even when you lose, right? Things go wrong in any business, but transportation, there's a lot of moving parts and things can go wrong quickly. But how do you recover from that to still try to execute what you've promised to somebody that you were going to do? And I think, the history in sports really translates into the industry well with those type of people and that mentality.
Certainly, certainly. You know, taking let's if we kind of continue this vein of thought here. In sports, you've got seasons where you win and seasons where you lose. Games that you win in great victory, and ones that you lose and you tuck your tail between your legs and you walk home. Can you share a story? I'll let you pick which one you want. But I love to ask folks to kind of reflect on a time when they hit that game winning home run career wise, and it's that highlight of their career. And then if you've got maybe one in there where you just kind of made a mistake and learned a good lesson from it. I like to try to explore both sides. And it's largely for folks that are out there maybe struggling at the moment with their career. They don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And just give a little inspiration that you're going to get through this. Even Mike has made like maybe one mistake in his life too. You got any of those stories?
So let's think about it. What would I say was the home run? There's so many, Nathan, that you get excited about. I mean, you can think of that individual customer that just had a desperate need. They weren't sure how to solve a problem, how to come up with the right solution, and you put your heads together and you figured it out for them. There's a number of those. I think from a career standpoint, though, everything I've done in my career, I've worked, at satellite facilities, smaller facilities in the LTL. I've run some of the largest break bulks we used to have in the old LTL systems. I've achieved those vice president levels in the LTL. Now coming over at Expedite All as a chief operations officer and, even as a president, every new avenue of the transportation sector you get into, whether it be at the ground floor or at a leadership level, you're constantly learning something new. It's always an aha moment, is what I kind of tell people. Again, I think back over my career from terminal operations to break bulk to line haul to, whatever it may be. It's always a different point of view of what the business does in transportation. You get into the different modes with, intermodal, with LTL, with full truckload, with air, with expedite. Again, there's always a new puzzle. And I think the thing that I've taken most out of it that I'm most excited about is the more you learn, the more you can help your customers put those pieces together, right? So I think in transportation, the biggest takeaway is it's ever evolving. You can't stop learning, and there's always something new out there to figure out, right? You think about the Amazon effect that we all kind of participate in. You used to go shop for things. Now you pick up a cell phone, find it. It's at your doorstep. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be 2 days from now. And by the way, if you don't like it, you return it, drop it off at the UPS store or Kohl's or one of the other locations, and they send it back. No harm, no foul. It kind of it's implemented at any mode. Everybody's looking for faster. Everybody's looking for more convenience. So I guess I'm kind of going in circles to say there's probably not one that I can look back and say, man, that was the best accomplishment I ever had. Because every new thing that I'm a part of, every new thing that I do, you find there's something that you're proud of or something you're excited about or something you never knew about that you got involved in. Again, that's part of the transportation space that you're helping customers, helping that supply chain. So I can't really pick one that just blows my
Wow,
mind.
it's fair
There's
enough.
so
It's
many,
fair
it's
enough.
so fun, and it just keeps you busy, Nathan, I think is the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Okay. All right. All right. You want to take a stab at what that best lesson learned when something maybe fell through the cracks or made a decision that was in later on down the road turned out to be not the best one at the time.
I think what you learn quickly in transportation is failure is not an option, right? So, we all have failures. whether it be business decisions you make that don't go exactly the way you planned, whether it be relationships that you build that maybe aren't the right fit for what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
Again, I can't think of anything I've ever stepped on a landmine that was nuclear, but there's always day to day decisions that really come down to how do you recover, right?
Gotcha.
How do you fix what maybe a bad decision was made? How do you fix that and recover quickly so that it doesn't continue? Um, there's thousands of those. When you think about a 25-year career, there's individual shipments you think we could have done better for. There's individual customers that maybe the plan didn't work out that you had to recover and course correct.
One before we kind of transition into talking about just the day-to-day operations and business there at Expedite All, I'm curious, from a career perspective and thinking about school, a question that I like to always ask all my guests is, what advice do you have for students, studying business today that maybe listening to this podcast today and being like, oh, Mike sounds like a cool dude. I think I would like to do something in logistics and freight and transportation. What advice would you give that student who's asking that question?
Yeah, the best advice I would give is, general studies are great, especially when you're talking about a management type degree or a business type degree, because you're going to dabble in everything from accounting to human resources to strategic planning to leadership to finance. All of those things are important. So as you're starting to consider your next career in transportation or in business in general, the best advice I would give is learn as much as you can. If you come out with a specialized degree, you're going to be really good in that area of focus. But as you start to work your way up, from a career perspective in an organization, you're going to have to understand and dabble in all of them. Now, you're going to want specialists that you surround yourself. Obviously, you need people that can do the finance. You need people that can do the technology side. You need people that can do the marketing side. But for me, I think what was good, and I had a business administration with a management focus. I got a little view of everything, right? So understand how all those different aspects of business work, which allows me to understand who to go to when we're trying to solve various problems for the expertise, but you have a general concept. So, for me, I thought it was good. It fit well. It's helped me in my career. It's helped me understand all the different aspects because all those pieces of the puzzle, especially as you work higher in an organization and take on more responsibility, they're all important. You can't be single line focused or you don't understand the full model of the business of how you're going to carry it forward. How are you going to strategically position that business to thrive in your space?
Definitely. That is the same advice that I give to a lot of students. I interact with a good number myself. And typically what I've realized is the same thing you have is even though I have a degree in logistics and supply chain management, and that's, on kind of the specialty that I started out with of being, a freight analyst, coordinator type of person. As I moved through my career, I realized that I was having to reach into the toolbox of every business class that I took, organizational behavior and finance and accounting and marketing and everything. And that you need to be a generalist as you move up in your career because you've got to use every tool from that business toolbox. And so 100% agree fully. And
Hey,
by the
Nathan, the
way,
only other advice I would give people in business,
okay.
don't be afraid to fail. People are so scared sometimes to fail with a new endeavor or, a new approach, a new service, a new technique. In business, again, like we were talking earlier, it's always evolving, right? So you're going to have to test the waters and try different ways, but be smart enough to know whether they're going right or whether they're going wrong. Set some specific criteria that you're targeting so that you can measure your results, but don't be afraid to fail. That's the other advice I would give people, because without that, we never would have gotten to the point we are, right? In many different business models, whether it be the speed of service, whether it be the efficiencies, whether it be the technology that we leverage in our day-to-day. I would also encourage people to try things. Calculated risk, you got to be smart, but try different things to try to push the envelope and then understand whether you're progressing towards your goals or not. And then you can always level set, reset, and go a different route if it's not working. But test the waters, try them out, and don't be afraid to fail. we're all going to have mistakes, right? We're all going to do things wrong. We're all going to learn from it, but you have to do that quickly and be willing to, take those calculated risks, because that's what makes our organizations better. And that's really what people are looking for to bring in good talent as well. People that do take calculated risks. So I would encourage people, don't be afraid of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the adage goes that if you aren't failing a little bit, you aren't pushing hard enough. All right, let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the business that you look after today. Can I kind of set up at the beginning of the podcast that it's, America's largest small truck network, but can you kind of elaborate on what exactly that means and maybe talk a little bit about your ideal customer?
Sure. So Expedite All, as you opened up, we're the largest provider of small vehicle solutions in North America. We've got over 9,000 vehicles, and the vehicle types are sprinters, box trucks, and straight trucks. And our motto is to partner with, uh, 3PLs, freight brokers, freight forwarders to provide capacity for their customers. We offer a safe environment because really our model is to vet, train, hold compliance standards for our partners that have the vehicles, and then offer that up so that everybody knows what's going on in the freight broker world with the fraud, the bad actors, the spoofing, the revenue theft, the product theft. I think TIA just announced the other day there was either a 24 or 27% increase to cargo theft in 2024, which equated to about $455 million. What Expedite All offers is a dedicated door-to-door direct service on those three vehicle types I mentioned. And it's a safe environment where you can book those without having to worry about one of those bad actors. So we do cover all of North America. We can do cross-border for Canada. We do the lower 48 states in the U.S. We do cross-border Mexico and also intra-Mexico. And again, we've got 9,000 vehicles that we partner with 3PLs, brokers, and freight forwarders to help them move their customers' freight on those dedicated, those exclusive use services. Now, the other unique part with us is we are a non-asset-based provider, but we've built the network over a number of years and offer that safe environment with drivers we know. We work exclusively with them because we know they're safe vehicles that we can offer to our partners to handle their freight so they don't have to worry about the fraud and the theft and all the bad stuff taking place in our space. So it's been extremely good to us, and partners I think are valuing the product that we offer.
Could you talk to a little bit about the origins? I know you've been there at Expedite All, for a shorter amount of time, but can you talk a little bit about kind of the origins of the business?
Sure. Really, the organization started from a consulting arm, helping owner operators and small fleets, really with the hiring, the vetting, the compliance, and a lot of the back office functions. We went to market as Expedite All to bring those relationships to the brokers, the 3PLs, and the freight forwarders post COVID because of all the bad things that were happening in our space. We've developed a network of drivers that we know and love. We understand their business model. We understand what they do. We understand they're a safe, valued provider for us. And again, we can take that to our customers to help pick up and deliver freight on those dedicated door-to-door services. Some people also look at us as a tech company because we've got our own proprietary TMS that actually manages that network of drivers. We know when they're available. We've got tracking and tracing on them that we freely offer to our customers so they have visibility of their shipment throughout the life cycle while it's on one of our vehicles. But at the end of the day, we continue to grow. Really our goal is to build that network out to about 20,000 vehicles and continue to expand our partnerships in the 3PL, the broker, and the freight forwarder space to help cover these type of moves and give them that safe environment and that vehicle capacity so that they can build their customer base and make sure that, they're covering the freight and helping their customers from a manufacturer, shipper, supplier standpoint, help them with their supply chain to make sure that there aren't any hiccups or disruptions.
From a broker perspective, could you talk a bit about how, like you all, because you're non-asset based and you kind of operate as a broker yourself, how is it that you engage with other brokers?
Sure. All of our relationships are in the form of a co-broker relationship. Again, it's a transparent partnership and contract that says, I don't own any of these vehicles. We are non-asset based, but we have spent years building a network that we we coined as our closed loop network of drivers because, again, we only work exclusively with them. We don't go outside of it. If I don't have a vehicle that can cover your shipment needs, I tell you I don't have a vehicle. If I do, I offer you up a price. You tell me whether you want it or not. If so, you book it, and now you get full visibility of that vehicle. On the flip side, it also, that relationship protects them from any kind of back solicitation. So really, there's no conflict of interest. Most of our partners tell us we feel like an asset-based provider, even though we are a pure brokerage that has built a network of assets that aren't ours. But with how easy we are to do business with, the technology that we give them access to, the visibility through the life cycle of their shipment, and just the pure capacity that we can offer with over 9,000 vehicles, again, we kind of become a one-stop shop and either are the support for their expedite departments, or we become their expedite department for anything 1 to 14 pallets that can fit on a Sprinter, a box truck, or a straight truck. And all of those relationships are, again, through that co-broker agreement. They've got customers, we've got vehicles. It's a win-win for both of us, and we can grow together.
That's that's pretty impressive for a broker to say their customers feel like they have assets because they just have that kind of relationship, and it's how you've designed the business, and it makes a ton of sense. But even maybe initially to some folks, before this was kind of born, it may not have been like, oh, this is not possible to you for you to have this closed loop type system with 9,000 drivers all over the place and be able to have such a sense of control and ownership and security in such a large network. Can you dropped a stat from TIA earlier today. Can you talk a little bit more about I guess maybe the outlook for the freight market, and especially I guess your corner of the market out for 2025? Do you have any predictions, or how you're looking at the industry this year?
If we're talking today, there's still uncertainty with some of the tariffs and things like that, and what you can see in the news and what's going on politically. But what we're still very confident in what the 2025 market will look like. We continue to see growth month over month, year over year. So I anticipate 2025 is still going to be a strong year. I think what we're trying to do from an economic standpoint within the U.S. To build the economy, I think that's going to play well in our space as well. Really, when you're talking about our customer base, it's going to be somebody that needs that fastest ground service as an option. It's somebody that needs the dedicated no-touch solution so that they don't have to worry about damages, delays, things like that. A lot of the spaces that, the freight that we handle through our partnerships are pharmaceutical, automotive. We've got refrigerated or temperature control units, so a lot of food type stuff can go in our vehicles. But at the end of the day, really, it's anybody looking for the fastest ground service, or it's anybody looking for a no-touch solution. High value, high damage type freight works well. I still think all of those markets are going to be very strong for us. And then if you're thinking about, working with freight forwarders, they're looking for somebody for that first leg on the exports or that last leg on the imports coming in. And I don't think that's going to change drastically. Again, the tariffs that you hear on the news, with China, Mexico, Canada, probably going to see a little bit of a blip on the radar here for a couple of months, but I think it'll come back strong. And we're very encouraged of what the outlook looks like for 2025. And we're looking forward to continuing to grow new partnerships to help new customers in those spaces play in the small vehicle space and leverage our network.
So you mentioned a while ago that you do a bit of traveling and try to get out there and engage sort of with clients and whatnot. Can you talk a little about where we might find you? What shows? I know I've been to a few so far this year. I've got more on the calendar. Where might people come across you guys out on the trade shows?
Yeah, so far this year, Nathan, we've been to three. We went to the SMC3 conference out in Atlanta back in January. We went to Manifest down in Las Vegas in February. We just came back from the Air Cargo Conference that was held in Dallas a couple weeks ago. All three were great conferences for us. Again, different spaces, but perfect within the space we play. Coming up, we've got the TIA Capital Ideas Conference. It's going to be held in San Antonio. I think that's April 9th through the 12th. We will be at the Broker Carrier Summit in Indianapolis, excuse me. That one's at the end of April, early May. We are going to go to the Home Delivery Conference in Nashville in May. We've got the second SMC3 conference in June. That's a connections conference out in Salt Lake City. And that's really the first half of the year. Outside of that, I know we've got TIA that'll be in the policy forum. We go out to Washington, D.C. every year, get a great opportunity to speak with various folks from the Senate and the House to kind of talk about issues, needs, or concerns within the space. We'll do that, I think, in September. And then we've got a few other planned for the rest of the year as well. I think we've got a total of 15 or 16 that are on the books this year.
Yeah, that'll keep you busy and earning those frequent flyer miles. Um, Running out of Kansas City, good. Uh, I didn't think about it much growing up and being in school and whatnot, but I always kept hearing, yeah, it's good to be in Dallas. I'm here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Just logistically, you get access to the whole country. You got a good, strong network at the airport, and it just makes a lot of sense if you're on the road and you've got a business to run throughout North America. Being centrally located is not a bad thing, I guess.
Especially since Kansas City just built a new airport a year or two ago. A lot more
Okay.
connectivity. That's good, but yeah, anymore the world's so small you can jump on a plane and get anywhere, right? And then video calls are great, but for us, the conferences are important for a couple of reasons. One, we get to spend time with a lot of our partners that go to the same conferences in one location. So getting those face-to-face meetings are great. Video calls are good. Post-COVID, it's made the world small. It's allowed business to transact a little easier, a little quicker. But there's nothing like shaking somebody's hand, having an in-person meeting, maybe breaking some bread over breakfast, lunch, or dinner with them, and having some discussion. So we enjoy it for getting together with our current customers, and then obviously meeting new potential clients that can take advantage of the network we've built and foster new partnerships for the future. So we enjoy going to them. Have a lot of fun there. Again, connecting with old and new clients, and yeah, we try to get as many on the books that make sense within our space as possible, and we'll enjoy those again this year. So feel free to reach out. We can connect anytime when we're at one.
Sure, for sure. And y'all have got really cool. Y'all have really got really good swag. I can advise on that. Well, I like to try to close up these episodes by just kind of putting out one last opportunity there for anything that we didn't talk about today that you were really hoping that we would bring up today. Is there any points, any stones that we haven't turned over here in the last minute or two?
No, Nathan, I don't think so. Again, we just appreciate the opportunity to jump on here with you. We thank you for the chance to do so, and yeah, we're having a lot of fun. If there's anybody out there that listens to this podcast and there's a service that we could help provide, please reach out. We've got a form on our website that you can actually request a demo of the technology you'd have access to. You can request a meeting with one of our sales team to reach out and kind of discuss what we do, how we do it, what we're good at, and what we don't participate in. Again, we're not LTL, we're not full truckload, but we're there to provide that small vehicle solution in that safe environment. So please feel free to reach out. We'd love to talk to anybody that finds a need or finds a good fit for us, and we're open for business. We're having a lot of fun, and we'd love to talk to you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and having a chat with us today. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, Nathan. Take care. Appreciate it.